From the traditional and unceded territory of the Lheidli First Nation and the heart of northern BC, welcome to the CNC Podcast. 50 years, 100,000 alumni. At CNC, we're learning together, changing lives, and creating futures. Welcome to the CNC Podcast. I'm Mark Cargelotto. Today, we're talking money and the money that it takes to be able to make it through post-secondary education. The simple fact is there are costs associated with post-secondary education. Tuition, books, having a roof over your head, those sorts of things. Now at CNC, it's really important for us to make sure that tuition costs remain low. The point there is to make sure that more students can get access to the education that they need. We're also privileged to live in northern British Columbia, where the costs of living can be somewhat lower than those in a major metro center. The simple fact is, though, that finances are a big deal for students, and so we want to unpack that and give you some options. Kimberly Bennett is the team lead for financial aid and awards, and she's going to help us look into money options that don't involve turning pockets inside out or doing a long and potentially fruitless search through couch cushions. So, Kim, welcome to the CNC Podcast.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, great that you're here. I'm wondering if you can take us through. It's not possible to give one number of what an education costs. But what are some of the things that factor into that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, our programs here at CNC, they vary in cost dependent on what program you're in, obviously. But, you know, there are some things that we know students need to find a way to pay for. So all students are going to have to pay student fees, as well as their tuition, as well as their books and their supplies. But then there's life as well. Life costs money. So, you know, you have to take into consideration the cost of rent, the cost of fuel if you're driving a car and not taking the bus, food. You may have dependents. All of those things add up. And it's very important that students come to post-secondary they come prepared to post-secondary knowing how much their life is going to cost them and how much their school is going to cost them, because that at the end of the day is going to reduce their stress.
So what would you say are the main ways that students in general would look at saving money for school? I'm presuming that, you would have funds that parents, relatives, that sort of thing would give, work that you would get. But what else do you think is important that way?
Yeah, absolutely. So, many students, can access their RESPs that have been set up beforehand for them. Perhaps you've had a job and you've managed to save your money and you're planning to go to school. But a lot of students here at CNC and other institutions access student loans. They're a really excellent way for students to be able to attend their courses and pursue the career that they want. I was a student. I got student loans. So, they're a really excellent way to get through school. But there are also a number of grants as well that are available to students who do also qualify for a student loan. So that's nice because that's money you don't have to pay back potentially. And then, scholarships and bursaries. CNC has a lot of internal scholarships and bursaries that we offer, and we love to help students apply for them. I love giving away money, but also there's external funders out there, such as the Irving K. Barber Society, and some other funders that have a lot of great scholarship and bursary money available for students to access to attend school.
Well, let's talk about scholarships and bursaries for a moment. So within the college, how many awards and what does it add up to dollar-wise then every year?
I don't know the overall value of all the dollars and awards that we have, but we do have a significant amount of money here at the college that donors and different funders have given to us, wanting to help students be successful and pay for their schooling. Yeah. They support CNC and they support students here at the college, and that's amazing. We have over 300 awards, and the value of those awards can vary anywhere from $200 up to $1,500. And if students apply and get a couple awards, if they're managed to be successful and get a couple of awards, that can really add up. And that can really help students get over the hump and be comfortable as they're going to school in terms of the amount of finances they have.
So is that key then, that students well, absolutely students need to apply, but are students applying then? Or what do we need to do to help them apply?
I would love to help students apply, and students need to apply for the funding. That's why donors are giving us that money, is because they want students to apply and to have it. And I want to give it away. So if students, want to apply or are afraid to apply, I encourage them to absolutely come down to my office, and I would happily walk them through the process of applying. We have scholarships, which, are based on academic achievement, but there's also bursaries, which take more into consideration that financial need and that life story. So students needn't be afraid to apply on awards thinking that they won't get them. Because if every student felt that way and were too afraid to apply on awards, then no students would be applying, right? So, really, students, I encourage them to apply on every single award that is available to them, and see what comes of it. See what comes of it. You may win a few awards, and wouldn't that be wonderful?
And there are deadlines basically through the year to be able to apply?
Absolutely. We have 4 different regular deadlines throughout the academic year. So we have one at the end of December, another one in February, another one at the end of April, and then one on June 1st. And those just align with the different programs that we have and when they start and end. So I always encourage students to apply on everything they can, but keep their eye on those deadlines, because what happens is, donors come to us all the time, and we create new awards that might get snuck in there after December 31st, after February 28th. And so it's important that students always keep their eye on that awards board just to see if something new popped up that they could apply on.
And you actually go to classes to be able to talk to students about this then. How do you find the receptionist when you go and do that?
Oh, it's amazing. When I get the chance to go into a classroom and present and actually show students exactly what it looks like when they're going to log into the system. This is the type of information you're going to need to have on hand to fill out your student information and then start applying on awards. It kind of demystifies that whole process, right? So it's a little bit less scary for students. And it's really not it's really not hard to do. But if you are struggling, that's why Student Services is there. That's why financial aid and awards people are there, are to help students, navigate that system, demystify it a little bit, make it easier, less scary. And then, hopefully we get all students applying on awards.
Now, tell me about some of the grants you were mentioning a little bit earlier too. So can you give me some examples of grant money that might be coming up and that's not necessarily an award?
Sure. So I always like to talk about, when students apply on student loans, if they are eligible for a student loan, there are a number of grants that they're also assessed for at the same time that they may be eligible for. So grants such as the BC Access Grant, there are some other grants through the Canadian federal government that you're automatically assessed for, and you may receive. And that's wonderful too, because that's a large amount of money that you don't have to pay back. So just because you took out a student loan and you got, say, $10,000 for a semester, that doesn't mean you have to pay back all that $10,000. Some of that money might be grant money that you were assessed for, which is excellent. Students who have disabilities, there are a number of grants that are available to them too through that system, or through the Student Aid BC system. So it's really important that people really explore their different options. And I always direct them to go to that Student Aid BC website, because there are a lot of options for students, even out, that come as part and parcel of a student loan that is really important for students to know about.
Now, can you tell me about the stress that sometimes not necessarily having enough money creates, and also the time of year? I think you had mentioned at one point potentially exam period could be a really tough point.
Absolutely. I always tell students, if I can talk to them before they start, is to, congrats, you're coming to school. That's really awesome. Have you taken the time to budget and find out, really figure out how much each month of your life is going to cost you as you're going to school? What's your tuition going to cost? But also, what does your rent cost? What is your food going to be? What are your monthly expenses going to look like? because often students, if they haven't figured that out, they might get their student loan, or they might, spend a little bit too much, and then suddenly December rolls around and they're in the middle of their final exams, and they're worrying about, how they're going to feed themselves or how they're going to put fuel in their vehicle. And that's the last thing we want. We don't want students to be in the midst of writing their exams worrying about also their funds. That's not what we want. But there's always also unexpected things that can happen. We cannot predict the future. And so a lot of the times, unfortunately, and we've all experienced it, we have an unexpected expense come up that we didn't anticipate. My car tire blew up or, something along that lines. And so CNC does have emergency funding that is available to students. It's not, it's for that one-time kind of unexpected hardship that we can provide to a student to get them over that hump, to really, okay, we're going to get you out to next month and you'll be comfortable. You'll be okay. So students can come see us if they're in that kind of situation. We can see what we can do for them.
Yeah, and my understanding was too that there was some COVID-19 emergency funding, and that I'm thinking that's probably done by now. But no, it still remains available?
We still have some funding available. COVID has ebbed and flowed, but we haven't, we've been through some waves, and, those hardships haven't gone away for everybody. And we're fortunate to still have some of that funding left over. So if students are experiencing hardship, definitely come and speak to us, because we do have some funding available.
Do you think there is a reluctance to speak that maybe people don't want to because they don't want to admit that maybe that they had a little bit of difficulty with some money, or they maybe spent a little too much then at one point and found themselves in trouble?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally understand that. And there's also, sometimes students just don't know that they're allowed to come and talk to us about that. They don't realize that, hey, potentially financial aid can help me get through this situation that I'm in. So I always encourage students to just come talk to us. We don't have all the answers. We can't, we can't magically, save all your financial woes, but we can certainly help you and tell you what your options are, so
make it a bit easier.
Make it a bit easier. Maybe we find options that you didn't know existed for you, and that's the information you needed to, go confidently forward. So
basically, budget as best you can, but make sure that you reach out if you need that help.
Absolutely. Well, and I can help you budget too. So if you need help budgeting, if that's a mystery to you, come see me, and
I might be tapping you on the shoulder then with that too.
I hope you do.
Fair enough then.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks a lot for this, Kim, and we hope that some people will be knocking on your door to look for some financial advice and financial aid options that might be available to them as well.
I hope so too. Thank you very much, Mark.